Wherever you are then.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for August 22nd, 2023. Roll call, please, Charlie.
Councilmember Marmon. Ritchie. Ferris.
Here.
Boardman.
Here.
Soldwich.
Here.
Stecker. Here. Stones.
Here.
Vice. Here.
The item number 3, the agenda approval for tonight.
Move to approve.
Second. And item number 4 is minutes approval from the
On that, just roll call or
Yep,
just
oh, sorry,
everybody in
yes.
favor. Yeah.
everyone in favor.
Yes.
Yes. And
Anyone opposed?
really quick too, you guys are all here for the alley vacation, right? Okay, I just make sure on the agenda we had the Wesley Light project, but then that was withdrawn. So if anybody gains here for the Wesley Light, it's not going to be on the agenda tonight. But I talked to these folks up here earlier, so I think that takes care of everybody that's here.
Perfect.
Eagle Battle. Yep. We're here for that.
Charlie.
Yep.
Item number 4 is the minutes approval from July 25th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Item number 4 is public comment. This would be anything that pertain to something that's not on the list for old business or new business today. Anyone in the audience have any comments on an agenda item, an item not on the agenda tonight? Okay. Number 6 is any old business, and we do not have any old business to consider. So we'll roll into number 7, which is new business. And letter A is consider vacation request from Brenda Wickett for an alley between the north side of the 1000 block of East Salem Avenue and the south side of 1000/1100 block of East Ashland Avenue. Charlie, some background?
Yes, and as you mentioned, this is for a vacation of an alley between those two blocks. I won't repeat the numbers. Public alleyway is not a paved surface, and it does not provide access to any properties abutting the public alleyway. Furthermore, it should be included on here. There are no utilities located in this alley. The picture on the screen here shows the alley that we're looking at, just generally kind of a T-shaped alley that comes off of Salem and provides access into the rear portions of those blocks of lots there. It does abut 11 different properties. The applicant has provided statements of intent from each of the abutting property owners in regard to receiving their portion of the vacated land. Of those, 7 property owners did request to receive their portions, and 4 of them did say they did not want their portions. I've got a map here just right after this one that'll kind of show what that'll look like. But the grassed alleyway is considered publicly accessible from East Salem Avenue, and the abutting properties and associated structures, as I mentioned, do not take access from this public alleyway. And honestly, if you were to drive by it, if anybody has, you wouldn't even know there's an alley there. It just looks like it's naturally part of people's yards. So this is my best shot at drawing lot lines on a computer screen. So please don't laugh too hard, but this kind of shows what this vacation will look like. You can see generally if you go from left to right, those 2 lots there, the first 2 kind of will split their portion of the alley. On the second portion, that property owner on the south side is going to take that full portion of the alley because the property owner on the north did not want any of it. And then when you get into that third portion there, they will split it. And that fourth portion there, they will split it. That fourth portion where that purple parcel is, was a little bit funky there because that property owner that would be on the northeast side did not want any of theirs. So from staff standpoint, we'll have to go through and we'll get all the descriptions put together for these transactions and transfers, and use legal counsel to kind of help us make sure that we've got all of that right. But we're not showing you those documents because it'd probably confuse everybody anyways, but that'll be something we'll put together before council ultimately would approve this. So with that, staff is recommending approval of this application as submitted. And if there are any questions,
They're all gonna have to have a survey.
no.
We're done without a survey.
Yep, so what we'll do, typically what we've done on these is that you just describe it as the portion adjacent to then the lot of record, the legal description there, so that's always been acceptable legal descriptions that we've done in the past, so we'll go through and do all of those, but this one will just get a little bit tricky because of instruments that are the amount of properties, I should say, that are being used here.
What's the cost to the landowner to do this?
So we have one flat application fee, it's $200 for that application, so the property owner, or excuse me, the applicant has paid that fee. And that's typically what the city has charged for the alley vacation process. I think some cities do it differently where they do charge individual property owners, but from our standpoint, I think the city of Indianola has always viewed it as right now, we're not receiving any taxable revenue from this property as it's public alleyway. Really, the maintenance should be on the city. I don't think we've been maintaining it for years, but we could be. So it's actually a cost savings to the city to not have to maintain that if we were ever requested to maintain it. Plus what little taxable value is going to be divided amongst this, then is put back on the tax roll. The city receives tax dollars in that sense.
So it's one $200 fee.
Yep.
And nothing more.
Yep. And the $200 fee is meant to capture the cost of staff to put everything together, put all the legal documents together, the recording and stuff like that.
And what communication has been done to all the property owners?
So aside from the applicant who has gone door to door to the adjoining properties and talked to all of them, we also did send out a notification of this meeting to them. What we typically do for notifications is just a small postcard that kind of explains what the application is and lets them know when the public meeting for that is going to be.
In saying that the adjacent ones don't want the portion, does that just mean they didn't respond or they responded that?
No, they responded. So the applicant she did a really good job of putting all of it together, and essentially it was, Brenda, you might need to speak on this a little bit, but it was almost like a check box where they said, excuse me, we don't want it or do.
Those are included in our packet too.
Oh, were they? Yep.
They were. I'm just trying to understand why the three or however many chose not to take it.
Yeah, and we give an opportunity for the applicant to speak here after I'm done answering questions. I'd ask her that question because I know she's talked to them individually, so.
Charlie? Okay. Would you like to approach the podium and
I don't have anything to say other than they don't want to pay tax. A very minimal tax fee, but it's worthless land. But the ones that didn't want it, they just, I pay tax if you don't. Each person was asked that. Get taxed, have it, or you don't have to have it. Pretty
probably
simple.
maintenance?
Yeah, I mean,
Gotcha.
yeah, so that's the
They
answer
just didn't
your
want a tax
question.
increase.
Yeah, I think they just didn't want to pay tax.
Makes sense.
Trees and bushes growed up in there, so they don't want it. Maintenance burden.
Okay.
Have to tear stuff out.
Charlie, you said there is nothing in there.
Utility wise,
I didn't know. You had to look into that. Good.
all that.
Our land surveyed and there's power back there.
The cable box maybe or phone utilities, so that when I say that there's no utilities in there, there's no city utilities in there, so there's no water main, sewer main, electrical lines like that. Now, I don't know if any of the franchise utilities have put stuff in there. We typically don't have access to that information, so but if there is stuff back there, then yeah, there would still be any easements that they've acquired through that process would still be included with that.
I just have.
I think if you come up the podium too, it just gets the audio picked up a little bit better, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm the 7 properties that were listed, so administratively, I just want to make sure that my address is still listed because we marked that we did want the property.
Which one is yours? Is on the-
10,004 East Salem.
You can decipher the colors, which color would that be?
Yellow or red?
Point.
Lower left.
Think,
Lower left, you said?
No, that's on Salem.
oh, yeah, the red one, red one.
Yep,
So is that split between the red and pink or, okay,
yep.
right. That's all.
Maybe not perfectly shown on this
Yeah, no,
graphic
that's
here, but
good,
it
that's
will.
good. That's all, thank you.
Can they just go through the 811 to figure out the private communications or? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I did recently to do some work and that's how I knew that there were lines back there. I think it's MediaCom.
Any other questions of the audience or any other statements you'd like to make?
Make a motion. Number one, that the City of Indianola Planning and Zoning Commission recommend the request to be approved as submitted.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And I just screen. Okay. The second agenda item is consider waiving the right to review a plat of survey for Chad Daniels for a property located within 2 miles of the city of Indianola. Details, Charlie?
Second, pull that one up on the screen. Okay, so Chad Daniels, on behalf of Janice Walters, has submitted a plat of survey request for property located outside of Indianola's corporate limits, but within the 2 mile jurisdictional boundary of Indianola. On this particular one, again, it is located outside of a priority growth area of the city. The subject property does not appear to contain any environmentally sensitive features. The parcels do not have public street frontage, however, is located closest to 95th Avenue. Access appears to currently take place off of Illinois Street, where Janice Walter owns a single family dwelling, and it is presumed by the city that there is a valid easement for them to take access off that property. Again, as we've always done, staff's recommendation on this is to waive review authority on this, as it is not within a growth area and the city does not plan on ever growing into this area in the future. So if there are any particular questions on it, I would be happy to answer them.
Which way is it? Since there's no county map here locating property.
I believe it is northwest. That address, but hold on 1 second here and then I'll throw it on the screen. Is northwest, it's almost halfway between the city and Spring Hill, but Jason, I'm gonna get it up here really quick and the
90th in Illinois.
yeah, so right where this it's this parcel, and I believe this parcel right here. But yeah, City of Indianola right here, Spring Hill right here, so it's located right between County Highway R63 and R57 there.
Thank you.
Questions for Charlie? Anyone from the audience here for this item that would like to make a comment?
Well, I don't know. I'm like, we just got the postcard in the mail and kind of wondered what it was all about, so. I don't know. I'm just, no.
Yeah, and I can tell you we typically don't know what the intended use are and stuff like this. We've never inquired about that if it's for a new house or anything like this. I know we talked to one of the surrounding property owners and it sounded like they were just doing maybe there was a recent death in the family and they might have been transferring some property to children. So I think that's kind of what's going on here, is they're just splitting this up and then transferring it to children. But again, I don't know that for fact. This is just what we were told by somebody who called in.
That's a fact.
Okay.
Motion?
Motion to waive the right to review.
Second that?
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Item 7C has been withdrawn from our agenda. The recommendation, the preliminary plat will come to us in a future meeting. So at this point, that agenda item has been struck. So we'll move on to our last item. Consider recommendation on a major site plan application for a display lot and EV charging station at 2406 North Jefferson Way. Charlie?
Indianola has submitted a site plan application on behalf of DeArmond Properties for property located at 2406 North Jefferson Way. That's where DeArmond Ford is located. The subject property currently operates an automobile sales lot. And the site plan would allow for an additional approximately 6,500 square foot of impervious surface area to allow for a car display lot and electrical vehicle charging station. Before we get into the presentation, just want to preface it by saying one of the things that we worked with DeArmond on here was typically when we're looking at a site plan for, let's say, a commercial site plan with a new building and a new parking lot for the public. There's typically a lot of aspects that go into the parking lot as part of that. One of the things we worked with DeArmond in here was that this is not going to be a public parking lot. As a matter of fact, it's going to be a displays lot, which is kind of almost accessory to the primary use. So we really focused on this just being kind of an additional area for them to display vehicles, not necessarily a parking lot that will be used by customers. So I just wanted to make sure that the commission was aware of that. But again, you can see the site plan here that was included in your packet. It does show just a general surface lot that is going to be constructed. It does provide some parking stalls that will be painted where there'll be some EV charging stations, and you can see those kind of at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there. And those will be 3 charging stations, and it would be able to charge up to 6 electrical vehicles at one time. And then DeArmond has also noted they may expand that in the future depending on how funding comes in on that particular request. But when you look at the left portion here, it shows the future land use map, and the right shows the subject property. The comprehensive plan does guide for this site to be regional mixed use. And then if you look on this one here, it does show the zoning on the right-hand side, which shows it as C2 commercial. So the use does fit with the comprehensive plan, does also fit with the zoning. So with that, staff is recommending that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that the request be approved with conditions. And that condition is that upon completion of Willowcrest Avenue project, that would then take Willowcrest to the east, 4 shade trees and 9 ornamental trees must be planted according to the city of Indianola landscaping code requirements. That condition is coming from, so when we worked with them, one of the code requirements we have is landscaping. And initially, we kind of discussed maybe putting some of that landscaping along Willowcrest. However, I think the fear from both the city and the applicant is depending on how that road gets put in there and what needs to be done as far as grading. Are we going to be putting landscaping in that area that is ultimately going to be moved through a construction easement or something like that? So we didn't want to put that in there right now and then have it be removed. So I think once we do get that corridor planned out, which it's not on a CIP currently, so it's probably some time away. But when that does get put in there, that we do get that landscaping put in. And the original thought was really to screen kind of the back portion of their parking lot there that has a lot of their vehicles that are being worked on from that Willowcrest corridor when that does go through. But again, I think that's something that we will work with the applicant when that time comes. I know Monte from Snyder's here as well too, and he can maybe speak on this, but I know DeArmond does have plans in the future for more expansion of their site back into the east as well too. So I would just tell the commission this probably is not going to be the last time you see a site plan from DeArmond. I don't think there's a schedule necessarily that they have for that, but I think we can still incorporate some of the requirements for landscaping in future site plans as well. With that, if there's any questions from me, I'd be happy to answer.
Stormwater, there adequate storage to handle additional impervious services.
I don't know, the commission didn't review the site plan from DeArmond that came through 2 or 3, 4 years ago. Because I think
the only one we
before.
did was their remodeling of the front of the
Yeah.
building.
That was, I'm not trying to remember what, it was the alternative site plan approval that we did on that one. So it was brought in under the old code. So during the review of that, we went through a whole stormwater management review. on that. Snyder then also submitted a stormwater management plan as part of this process that was reviewed. Typically, Snyder reviews our stormwater management plans, but when they submit a site plan on behalf of another client, we have a secondary engineering firm that we typically reach out to. So we did have that. That's Strain and Associates. They're out of Ames, used to be Fox Engineering, and they reviewed the stormwater management plan and did sign off on it.
What looks like temporary Willow Crest. Are they gonna have access off that? Waiting until Willow Crest is really.
It's something when we put that corridor in that we're gonna have to talk to. In fact, we just had a meeting yesterday on looking at concept studies and alignment studies for that corridor in the future. And that's one of the things that we have to balance, is that it's going to be a major arterial road, which typically requires larger spacing on that. So we were well aware that we have to look at, especially those two roads coming off for both Tyson's and Yarman, right off the highway. But those are things that we will look at when that corridor is put in there. I don't think we've locked down any locations for Yarman and access at this point, but that's something that would be negotiated when that corridor goes in.
Thank you.
I'd just be happy. I'm Monty Applegate with Snyder. Just be happy to answer any questions that you may have for me.
You want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we recommend the request be approved with the conditions that Charlie mentioned.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right,
Anyone opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda is any comments, specifically building permit report, Charlie?
Let me pull it up because I know I noticed it wasn't included in the agenda. I think the commission typically gets emailed the monthly building permit reports when they come on. So I can tell you again, and I think I've mentioned this every single meeting this year. We're behind pace that we were at the last couple of years, and it's natural. And we get reports from the Home Builders Association every month that everybody in the metro is at about the same pace behind right now. So it's just the product of the environment we are right now, with building and developments that are going on. And obviously, as I've mentioned just previously before this meeting, the commission has had a lot of meetings canceled this summer, and that's just because we're not seeing the level of development that we did post-COVID into the last couple of years. So hopefully interest rates can kind of mellow out a little bit, and maybe people get a little bit more comfortable investing money, but we'll see how that goes in the future. But current development, we are still seeing some level of site plans come in. Just this week, I think we've had 3 site plans submitted for review. One out in the industrial park, so I think everybody's aware of that project. Sternquist is going to be moving their facility out there, and they've submitted that. But then Wesley Life's preliminary plat, which we reviewed the PUD on that previously, that has received full staff approval. They withdrew it from the agenda on here because they wanted to look at possibly some cost saving measures, I think, on that project. So that's why you weren't seeing it tonight. So we're still seeing good level of development coming in, a lot of inquiries, a lot of bigger development projects that are sitting out there right now that people are in due diligence on. So it's not all bleak, but we're staying busy. So, but any questions on anything in particular, I'd be happy to answer.
The announcement that was on Facebook with the piece break behind scooters.
Yes.
Is that, how far along is that?
Not that far along. So one of the big components of that project is there's the stream that goes through there, and the plan is to get that filled in. So the developer has been working with an engineer to kind of put some plans together on that. So big stormwater management aspect to it that we've been looking at. There's also a pretty big sanitary sewer trunk line that goes through there. And the city's requested kind of as part of that, before we bury that trunk sewer line 20 feet deep, maybe we should replace it first so we get some more life out of it before we have to dig it up. So we're working back and forth with them on that. It's been a slow process, but we're at a good point right now, at least with the filling in of the ditch. That I think the city's comfortable with the plan. I think the developer's looking at financial portions of that, and I would contend that there's probably going to be some sort of development agreement request from the city as part of that. So haven't seen any price estimates on that one yet, so. Jason's nice enough to bring that up here. The trees have all been cleared out of that, but it's that way for a bit, so.
The other day I talked to you about a couple of concerns. One is kind of a review of A1 zoning in the city. Why it stays that way and how come it's not used for agricultural purposes and just anyway, information.
Yeah, do you want me to kind of?
No,
Okay.
maybe in the future.
In the
whenever
future, yep.
convenient on the agenda. The other one has to do with housing and some cooperative effort between IMU and the city on improving housing or some kind of a program to improve housing. It's in the comprehensive plan. Just kind of when's that going to get started?
So one of the things after you and I spoke, Emily and I kind of talked through some of those items. So we're going to get a report put together here over the next few months, probably kind of where we're sitting at the 164 implementation strategies we have in our comprehensive plan. It's amazing. And I've said this, I know the few times that we presented this to the commission, when you start going through them, how many that you've checked off and you don't even realize you've checked them off. So we're going to get a report put together on not just the housing section, but all of them.
Sure.
On where we're at and stuff like that. So the other thing on the housing component that I will point out is that we did release an RFP a couple of weeks ago, if not a week ago, to do a housing study for the city. So with the comprehensive plan, we initially had asked for that, but the cost came in a little bit high. So it was going to put the comprehensive plan update over budget. So we kind of scaled back on the housing study that we were doing, but we've had a few developments that have come forward that have required a housing study to get some credits that they need through IFA. So we've known in the back of our minds that we've needed to do this for a while, and we did get budget funding for it this year. So we released that, and we're hoping that that can be done by the end of the year. But once we get a consultant on board, we'll have a better idea of that. But I think that's something that the Planning and Zoning Commission will be involved in.
Thank you.
Tomorrow night, there's a meeting for the paving of South K.
Yay.
Yes, neighborhood meeting at 6 o'clock at the activity center out on Second. So
Well attended.
I would imagine the
I
last
think it's your
time,
second.
meeting, I wasn't at the first one, so I don't know how well that one was attended, but I was at the meeting with the new owner of the Deer Run Golf Course, and that was the largest meeting I think I've ever attended. So a lot of people at that. I know this
It was a
neighborhood's
pleasure
very-
to be on the valuation committee.
And that's right. You can do evaluation. If anybody knows what that is, as we're working through the assessments, we have to come up with a value that we see for these lots, and that's how the assessments are based off of. So we, council appointed an individual evaluation committee. He as a real estate agent did serve on that, so.
All right, anyone want to make a motion to adjourn? Those in favor?
Hi.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Sarah, you were